Hi, this is Ankit Mittal, and today we are going to discuss about the Kubernetes installation requirement. So before we begin with our Kubernetes installation, we are going to see the requirements that we need to fulfill before we install the Kubernetes on our single node. So Kubernetes need one or more machines. And you need to have the following version of the operating systems installed on it. So you can have Ubuntu 16.04 plus, Debian 9, CentOS 7, RHEL 7, Fedora 25/26 best efforts, and Hybrid OS version 1.0.1 or your container Linux. These are the specific versions which the Kubernetes official documentation lists that they have tested out for the Kubernetes installation. It's important to note that these operating systems are the versions which have been tested for the Kubernetes to work end-to-end, though it's possible that the Kubernetes will work on the other Linux distributions, but they haven't been tested officially. So the system on which you are going to install your Kubernetes should have at least 2 GB or more RAM per machine. If you have little less than this or any less, the applications that you are going to run within the Kubernetes would be affected due to the lower amount of RAM available with them. Then you need to have 2 CPUs or more, and there should be a full network connectivity between all the machines in the cluster, whether it lies in your public or your private network. Both networks are fine for the Kubernetes installation. And you should have the unique hostname. This is one of the important requirements. Then the MAC address and the product_UUID for every node. Make sure these all are unique, and note down your product UUID which the Kubernetes is going to use for the installation. Now note that if somehow your product UUID remains the same, then Kubernetes installation might fail. So ensure that this is unique for the hostname and your product UUID. Now you need to disable your swap, and you must disable the swap in order for the kubelet to work properly. Now there are certain ports which you need to open for your machine. If you are working in a cloud-based distribution such as Amazon AWS, you are testing the Kubernetes installation on the VMs, then these ports you need to open. Here are the details of the port. Now within the master node, you need to open the following inbound port for your Kubernetes API server. It runs on 6443. This is by default the port number. You can modify it according to your requirements if you want to, but by default it runs on 6443 port. Next comes your etcd server used for with client API. This runs on ports 2379 and 2380. This is basically being used by your Kube API server and the etcd cluster. Next comes your kubelet API, which runs on 10250. Kube scheduler runs on 10251, and Kube controller manager runs on 10252. In case you are having any issues to remember any of these services of the Kubernetes, you can review our previous tutorial in which we have discussed about the role in the Kubernetes architecture. Next we come down to the worker node, and within the worker node we need to open the inbound port for the kubelet API, which runs on 10250, and the node port services, which starts from your 30,000 to 32,767. So these are the port ranges which you need to open in your firewall for making the Kubernetes installation to work. Now there are some important points to remember. Now although the etcd ports are included in the master nodes itself, you can also create and host your own etcd cluster externally or on custom ports. And next comes your Docker version. So on each machine that we are going to install, we are going to use the Docker version of 17.03, which is the recommended with the Kubernetes documentation, though you can also use 1.11, 1.12 or 1.13, the older version of the Docker, which will work as well. Now, going ahead in time, you need to keep a track for the latest verified Docker versions in the Kubernetes release notes, which the Kubernetes team releases time to time. And lastly, we are going to use the virtual machine that we created using the Vagrant as discussed in our previous tutorial for this exercise. That's all for this Kubernetes requirement session.